morning, everyone. I am heading to the gym this morning and I have a whole wellness day planned. I have the day free of any other commitments, which has become unusual lately. So I'm taking the day to do some of my favorite wellness things, and I want to invite you along. Hey, I'm Daniela, licensed massage therapist and strength coach for Remade Wellness, and I'm on a mission to show you how the Remade life can help you live well with autoimmune disease. All right, we've made it to the gym, so I'm going to do a little bit of strength training and cardio because I'm at the age where my doctor said I need to do more cardio. Strength training was really where my quest for healing autoimmune disease began, and it kind of happened by accident. I was working at a corporate wellness site, and the methodology that I was learning and implementing was a methodology used for professional athletes. And I know that sounds a bit crazy to think that an approach to strength and conditioning for elite athletes, professional athletes, could be used for people with autoimmune disease. The strategies were very intentional approaches to build strength and implement recovery. And I think it's the recovery piece that I was really missing and that I didn't implement on a regular basis. So I started implementing this new methodology, this new approach to strength training in my life, and I started noticing that over time I didn't have as many flare-ups. And not only did I not have as many flare-ups, but my blood work looked better too. I was like, that's a huge win, and I think that there's something to this. So I started to implement this with my clients, and my clients started seeing results, and I was like, I think there's something here. And so I started to develop my own method, the Remade method, to strength training and recovery from what I was learning about how professional athletes train and what I knew about autoimmune disease, the things that helped me, the things that helped my clients. And that is what helped me create Remade Strong Foundations, one of my strength training programs. From that point is when I started to realize, you know what, change is possible and I can do something about autoimmune disease. Because that was always the narrative, right? Like, there's nothing you can do about it. Like, this is just what it is. But that experience, just like implementing a different approach to strength training and like working out and no longer beating my body into the ground or reaching burnout every single workout, you know, like that really showed me that actually doing things differently can create change. All right, workout is done. Wasn't as long as I had hoped to have in the gym this morning, but that's okay. So up next, I'm heading to one of my favorite places and one of the first wellness investments I ever made, like on an ongoing basis, Beamlight Sauna in Durham. And it's going to be 40 minutes of just quiet bliss in the sauna, combined with some red light therapy. Before we head into the sauna, I'm gonna have a quick little refuel. Normally I love to have breakfast at home, but just because of the timing, I brought some oats in combined with a protein shake. So just gonna drink this up real quick and then head inside. Hello from inside the sauna. So something that Beamlight Sauna focuses on is chromotherapy. So that is where you use different color lights to achieve different like wellness goals. The different wavelengths focus on different aspects of health. So I mostly like to use the red light. The red light focuses on like boosting energy and improving circulation, which is really important for lymphatic flow. So that's why I like to use the red light. Something that I want to make sure I talk about, because it's something I'm very passionate about, is this idea that you need all of these wellness practices for healing. So things like the sauna, the red light, the power plate, yes, they are helpful in your healing journey, but they are very much supplemental. If you have followed me on social media, or if you're subscribed to my newsletter, the weekly journal, you know that I'm a big believer that healing must first happen on the inside. Healing is an internal journey, and then all of the wellness practices that are like external things, like juicing, meditating, yoga, working out, the sauna, like all of those things are just supplemental, because it is very easy to allow wellness practices to actually prevent you from healing, because you start to layer on all these practices, and then you keep adding more and more, and before you know it, you're so stressed and overwhelmed because you have to like keep up this routine, and if you don't keep up the routine, then your body goes into a spiral and you flare. That's not healing. That's not wellness. If your wellness routine, if you become dependent on it and you need it to be able to just at minimum feel good in your body, that's not true wellness. All of this is supplemental. Healing has to happen first within you, and then all of the outside stuff is just like the fun part. So this is me just doing the fun part of wellness. So normally on Fridays at noon, I do a mobility class online, but today's class was canceled. But I'm still gonna do a mobility session. I'm gonna do a regen class focused on my kidneys, just because it's winter and I always want to just continue to support my kidneys through winter, and just for general health. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Mobility was one of the missing pieces of the puzzle, and I realized that, as I mentioned earlier, when I worked in corporate wellness and I was implementing these different strategies that were applied to professional athletes, the recovery piece was what I was missing, and mobility really helped to fill in that gap. And as I started implementing more mobility, I noticed that my joints hurt less, my body didn't feel as heavy. Moving your joints supports circulation, it supports your lymphatic system, and it helps just lubricate the joints, and promote joint health. Mobility really has made a huge difference over the years. And initially when I started mobility, I was really focused on joint mobility. As I have continued this journey and have matured in my understanding of how the entire body is just connected, I've implemented, thanks to the teachings of one of my mentors, Anna Hartman, Movement Rev, I've implemented also a lot of visceral movement and how the organs of the body influence the musculoskeletal system. The tension in your organs can impact your body's mobility. And so that was another piece of the puzzle. And then also starting to incorporate nervous system work. Putting all those things together, joint mobility, visceral mobility, and the function of the nervous system has helped me to create a mobility practice that supports my overall well-being and helps to reduce the impact of autoimmune disease and helps to reduce the frequency, the intensity of autoimmune flares. And I definitely feel it when I am not as consistent with my mobility, and I really feel great when I'm really consistent with my mobility. So now I'm hungry and it's time for lunch. Probably just gonna have leftovers, whatever I find in the fridge. And just because I haven't mentioned it today, hydration is always a part of my wellness days, part of any day, so make sure you hydrate. All right, back from lunch. Just had a quick lunch and now I'm back at my studio office and I'm gonna work on my Friday finances. Part of my wellness journey over the years has involved getting my finances together. Why? Because financial security is a huge part of wellness, and being able to have money to invest in wellness things that you enjoy. As I said earlier, none of which are required for healing, but it's just the added benefit. But also, like, on a more serious note, like having money to pay medical bills, like having money for your medication. I used to struggle so much with that, and I also used to like struggle a lot with like the guilt of spending money on wellness things. And I think that that's why it took me so long to like really invest in wellness practices, because I just felt like any money I made needed to go to my medical bills because there was just so many of them. One tip that I learned, I think it was 2018 maybe, be willing to look at your medical bills. Because I used to shove them into a drawer and I didn't want to look at them, and they would pile up until I got those calls from the collections agencies. If I can give any advice, be willing to look at your medical bills. One practice that I developed as an entrepreneur is doing Friday finances. I try to do it at least twice a month, just to check in on my income, what's coming into my business, what do I need to pay, what bills do I need to take care of, my rent, utilities, like for my business, and then what I can pay myself. So that's what I'll be working on today, is financial wellness. All right, that is a wrap on my wellness day today. Thank you so much for joining me. Today is definitely not the norm of every day. I don't necessarily do the gym, sauna, red light, mobility class every day. It just happened that today I was free from external commitments. As an entrepreneur, and as someone living with autoimmune disease, when I was thinking about what do I want my remade life to look like, having to not work on Fridays was definitely a part of the ideal plan, but that doesn't always happen. Usually work flows over, I make plans with other people, and so just like life comes up on Fridays and it kind of spills over to like the day that I have free. But today I happen to be free, and so I wanted to spend time doing things that I enjoy doing, the things that make me feel good, and I just wanted to share it with you all. Mostly because I want you to see that living well with autoimmune disease is possible. As I mentioned earlier, no, you don't have to do all these wellness practices. Healing happens first on the inside. When you're doing the work, doing the wellness practices is the added fun, it's the added enjoyment, and they also do have very physical and tangible benefits. I hope that this was helpful to you. If you have any questions about living well with autoimmune disease or any of the wellness practices I shared today, please feel free to reach out. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel for more vlogs on living well with autoimmune disease. Thanks for joining.